Welcome back for today's helping of oysters, clams, and cockpits presented by Bolin Media. I am Captain All Ears, and I love feedback. No, I'm Ross Bolin here with Barrett Dudley to discuss and review Season 2 of The Rehearsal on HBO. Barrett, how are you?
Don't you mean First Officer Blunt? Great intro. Nicely
yeah.
done. Oysters, clams, and cockpits.
That was last second. I thought of that as the intro music was playing.
Wow. Well,
brain firing on all cylinders today.
Yeah. I'm stoked. I'm stoked we get to dedicate a pod to The Rehearsal Season 2, which just honestly surpassed all expectations and was truly unhinged. And yeah, you know, at the end of our Andor coverage, I was like, how many people out there are watching Rogue One? It's got to be a lot.
Right.
I think Rehearsal Season 2 is doing the same. It has to be doing the same thing for Nathan For You. Because at the end of Rehearsal Season 1, I was not like, I have to go watch Nathan For You now.
Right.
Now I'm like, remind me what my Paramount Plus login is because I think I need to see more from this guy.
You just won't be able to see episode 2.
That's correct. I'm pretty disappointed about that. I might have to go to the dark web to find that
Surely it's online somewhere. No, one of the genius things about The Rehearsal Season 2 is that he plugs repeatedly all these other things he's done, both of which are on Paramount Plus. Which I wonder how HBO felt about that. But
I was thinking about that too. I was wonder I wonder if Warner Brothers HBO Max / Max, just Max, HBO Max, HBO Now.
Yeah. Zaslav.
Yeah, they got to be kicking themselves like for not like licensing like some share rights on Nathan For You, like getting that over to that to their platform as well.
So they could send you straight there after the finale.
Straight there. Yes.
Yeah.
And you know, things can be on 2 streamers at once. Like there's something that popped up on my Netflix that I was like, oh, that's weird. That's a such and such channel,
an FX show or something.
Right. So like they can do that. They can license it out and have it in 2 places at once. But yeah, that's a free one. HBO, go get Nathan For You for me, so I don't have to remember my Paramount Plus login.
I don't think I have Paramount Plus anymore. It's not as a result of Nathan's accusations that he makes in this season, but I think that's one of the ones I let go.
Okay.
You know? I just said, I don't need this one right now. But maybe I have to go back.
Can I tell you about a show that I think I'm letting go, Ross?
What?
It's called Sirens, and it's on Netflix, and it was recommended to me enough times to where I said, okay, I'll do this. I like Megan Fahey a lot. If you listen to this podcast, you know how highly I think of White Lotus Season 2. For me, she was kind of the MVP of that season. So at this point, she's kind of on my like, yeah, I'll watch her in pretty much anything list. Episode 1 was not good, Ross. It was very bad, I would say.
Okay.
And sorry to everybody that's really enjoying that show.
Well, and this says a lot because you have the ability to broaden your horizons.
Yeah.
Or to say it another way, lower your standards
for
certain forms of entertainment that you know are not prestige TV. You're much better at this than me. Yeah. I have trouble. Like I go and see Lilo and Stitch with my kids, and I hold it to the same regard of the shit that we watch and cover.
Same standards.
And I'm like, this is terrible. This is terrible storytelling.
Yeah.
Whereas you're able to go and enjoy like some reality TV and you know some what was that Netflix show? Nobody Wants This.
Nobody Wants This.
Yeah, stuff like that where I can't I'm not that. I'm more of a snob.
I'm quite enjoying the 4 seasons on Netflix right now, which is the Tina Fey, Steve Carell show.
Yeah. So this thing, Sirens did not hit for you.
Did not hit. No. Here's the main reason that I won't keep going is because right now it's a bad look for my girl Megan Fahey because she's arguably the worst part about episode 1.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I don't really want to put that entirely on her because I think the show is paced really strangely and she just has to say the lines that are written for her and her character is an absolute mess and she kind of has to, it's very forced, it's very overacted in a way. And
I saw a clip on X of her with 3 other women in a car singing WAP by Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion and I was like, I don't think this show's for me.
That's from Sirens?
Yeah.
Well, I kind of want to see that.
You don't. You don't need to.
The last thing I'll say about Sirens, just kind of in that same conversation about what I'm able to enjoy and not. One thing that I am not is a binger. I am not a TV binger. I do not like these new Netflix shows will pop up on a weekend and they kind of go viral over a weekend. Baby Reindeer was a great example of this, right? And it's just like it hits and like people have watched the whole fucking thing over the weekend. I do not do that. I never do that.
It's a lot.
I like to course out my stuff. If I get really invested in a show, I will watch it quickly. But quickly for me is like when I watched all of Slow Horses, like the first 3 seasons over the course of a month. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like if I'm doing one a night, that's big for me. I'm going fast. And so like I can see Sirens feels very much pitched as a show where like what they are going to make sure is that each episode ends on a pretty compelling cliffhanger so that you click into so that you say, yeah, all right, I'll watch the next one. But because I'm not watching 3 episodes of a television show in any given night, it's just like, and it's only 5 or 6 episodes. So you can, if you are binging, you can burn through this pretty fast and it's like no skin off your back. But that's not the way I watch TV, and so this one I think I'm out on.
You mentioned Slow Horses. They dropped their first teaser for season 5 today. Debuts September 24th. That will be 5 seasons in 3 years. You and I have complained a lot about
that's how you do it.
These HBO prestige shows like The Last of Us and House of the Dragon that take 2.5, 3 freaking years between seasons, and it's a real buzzkill.
Yep.
Because, in the age of binging TV, and just really with these extremely complex, dark stories, like you forget stuff over the course of 2.5, 3 years.
You do.
And it makes it difficult to enjoy the latest installment. Slow Horses and The Bear are 2 examples of really good TV shows that are currently on the air or, that have not concluded, that pump out their seasons every year. And it makes it a lot easier and happier and more enjoyable to be a fan. And so, shouts to people that are still making that happen.
Shouts to the shows that are cranking them out, man.
Yeah, dude, you got to.
One last note on that. I saw that, now I know extenuating circumstances because Friends and Neighbors was picked up, like, I think they bought 2 seasons of it right away. So it did not have to wait for a renewal. But basically, as soon as that show ended, as soon as the finale aired, like Olivia Munn was posting about it, and I went into the comments, and she was very forthright about a question that I think a lot of people had, which is, will Sam be in season 2? And she said, "Yep, we're filming now." And it's like, yes, thank you. Like that show's coming back next year. They're already filming, no CGI, like done and dusted. It will be back next year. I am positive, and that's what I like to see.
I've got one more of that show. Really enjoyed it. Good light watch, even when it gets darker.
Yeah.
It doesn't punish you. Let me put it that way.
It does not. No.
So yeah. All right. Well, to circle back to the rehearsal, HBO's taken a lot of heat over the last several years for repeatedly changing the name of their streaming service, overloading their programming with shows based on pre-existing IP and Paul Brothers reality TV, and taking 3 fucking years between seasons of their big tentpoles. But we do need to give credit where it's due. And paying for the rehearsal season 1, much less season 2, is to be commended, because this is one of the more insane things I've ever watched. Mm-hmm. And, season 1 was good. It was interesting. It was weird. It had really funny moments, but a lot of it was just like cringe watching,
Yeah, yes.
You're just like, God, this is as awkward and strange as it could possibly be. And it didn't have as tight of a premise.
Correct.
That tied all the episodes together. So there was a lot of random shit that kind of felt like one-off episodes, and it was just bizarre. A bizarre experience, but one that I remember vividly because of how strange it was. So I didn't really know what to expect coming into the rehearsal season 2, which obviously we can jump into our discussion here. Episode 1 is titled Gotta Have Fun. It's 39 minutes, and it basically sets up the season, right? It opens with several reenactments of plane crashes caused by co-pilots failing to stand up to their pilot compatriots. And as you're watching, you don't really, initially you don't understand the circumstances, but basically Nathan Fielder has built the cockpit of an airplane on a soundstage, surrounded it with green screen, and created his own flight simulator, basically. And
with screens, television screens.
Yeah,
so that
big ass screens.
Yeah.
And he's got 2 actors playing pilot and co-pilot, and reading off of the transcript that, from what was recovered from the black box, from real aviation disasters that have occurred. And that's sort of the setup. But of course, they have this moment where they pan over after one of the planes explodes and there's just fire everywhere on the screens. And Nathan is just standing there with his fucking laptop strapped to his chest. And so you're like, okay, what's the deal here? What is this going to be about? And then we meet John Goglia, who's the American aviation safety consultant and former member of the National Transportation Safety Board, the NTSB.
The NTSB, yeah.
The president of the Professional Aviation Maintenance Association as well. And basically, Nathan hired this guy to speak to a group of students so that after the fact, he can approach him to talk about his premise. And his premise is that Nathan has been studying commercial aviation disasters and believes that many of these crashes are the result of poor communication in the cockpit. That is the premise of the season.
Yes.
The whole season. And while it does take these wild asides at times, particularly the clones of dead dogs is one that stands out. For the most part, he even finds a way to tie that back into the aviation disaster premise. So this season does stay more tight. And frankly, for me, I think it's one of the things that was probably either a note he made for himself or a note that was given to him after season one, that if you can make it a little tighter and make it more cohesive and not seemingly so random and fucking weird all of the time, then it will be better.
Yes.
Higher quality. And I think that worked.
This was also, I totally agree. I sort of got a little bit of buy-in from my wife on this. I don't think she enjoyed it nearly as much as I did, but I was able to get her to sit down and watch these episodes with me.
Yeah.
And because there was this core premise that was like far more approachable and even understandable than like, because it was, we eventually do get to the point where Nathan is centered. But in the first season, it's very much about his journey to like figuring out fatherhood, right?
Right.
Where this one is very much like it's a problem that exists outside of Nathan.
It affects the general public.
Yes.
The flying public, as he refers to them.
And so you do get, like what I was trying to remember is like outside of the bar that he rebuilds at the beginning of season one, I don't remember these like near total digressions, which was a really brilliant part of this season, is that in essentially every episode, there is at least one like full digression that he ties back into the central premise. Do they all make sense? Do they like the cloning the dogs?
No.
Do they
don't all work?
No, they don't all fully work. But they are all like fascinating. A lot of them have something very interesting to say. And yeah, I liked that we had this central kind of thesis or premise or problem that he was attempting to solve. Throughout the 6 episodes.
And a big tie-in that kind of comes up repeatedly over the course of the 6-episode season is that as somebody who is known as a comedian who makes comedy, it is difficult to get people to take you seriously.
Yeah.
Which is why John Goglia is so important. Mm-hmm. He needs somebody working with him that is legitimate, right? Yeah. So to kind of continue through the episode 1 plot, he shares with Goglia these transcripts from black boxes recovered from these crashes. I love. There's one line from, I believe it's an Indian pilot, and he says, "Why are you holding power levels? I am pilot flying, idiot. I should be holding." It fucking cracks me up every time. But it's a male pilot disrespecting his female co-pilot.
Okay.
Causing a problem in the cockpit, which leads to a crash, right? So after we get this initial premise and meet John Goglia, Nathan starts meeting with co-pilots to try and investigate his hypothesis. And the first dude is this wildly insecure co-pilot who has like a long-distance girlfriend who he, for whatever reason, has decided is going to find someone else. That his girlfriend is going to meet someone else because she works at a Starbucks where she interacts with different customers all day. But his general attitude when he talks about his girlfriend is basically like, yeah, she's my girlfriend, but she'll be somebody else's girlfriend soon. But he has like no self-confidence.
This is Moody, who appears to be 23 years old.
Young guy.
He's very, very young. And yeah, this leads me to my first of 5 big questions, Ross, that I have for you on the Rehearsal season 2.
Okay.
This was actually number 4, but I think this is the right place for it. Do you think there are plants on this show?
Like, do I think any of the people that are presented as co-pilots or pilots are actually not?
Yes.
No.
There are plenty of people that are very clearly fielder method actors.
Right.
But do you think there are plants?
As I have not looked into this, as of right now, and having watched again, several episodes, I started watching it again last night. I believe, like Moody, there's no way that dude's a plant.
I agree.
There's no way.
But his girlfriend struck me as just the way that once she starts having the conversation with Moody as they're, flying the plane, quote unquote, and they're having their little conversation in there.
Yeah.
Talking about accepting gifts and bracelets from random dudes at Starbucks. I was like, okay, what?
I thought that was real though, right? I'm pretty sure that was all real.
I mean, that's what I'm asking you. Like, it was definitely pitched as very real and very authentic.
No, I think it's part of what made it so beautiful is that he brings in the girlfriend, right? And like, she is not very respectful of their relationship.
No.
I would say. And I don't think you can fake the dynamic that we watch unfold, which is where he's clearly upset about her attitude towards the whole thing. He keeps grabbing at the controls, because Nathan has told him, like, if you start to feel the conversation slipping, grab the controls and try to fuse together that feeling of like taking control in the cockpit and taking control in your relationship.
Right.
And I don't think you can fake that. I don't think you can fake the insecurity that Moody was displaying throughout the course of the lead up to that either. So I'm 99% sure that the pilots and co-pilots we meet are legit.
Okay.
And then, of course, there's a ton of actors that are hired practicing the fielder method throughout the course of the season 2. But yeah, I took this as very real.
Okay.
This whole Moody setup here. So initially, Nathan, he tries to follow Moody around the airport to get a sense of his routine when he's going to, serve as a co-pilot. But he has issues. He can't get around the security in the airport. They're like, you can't just go through and and also you can't go into the pilots only areas of the airport. The pilot's lounge. He's not allowed, right? He tries to get special media access through United Airlines. The first call to United Airlines that we witness actually ends up being a rehearsal, and you don't know it until he goes in and tells the girl, all right, I think that's good. I'm ready for the real thing, which was one of the more brilliant moments of the pilot or the opening episode. But then he really calls United Airlines, and they're basically like, nah.
Yeah.
We're not giving you special access. So he builds his own airport terminal. Barrett and I were both born and raised in Houston, Texas, and they actually ended up doing George Bush Intercontinental Airport like an entire terminal.
IAH.
Of IAH, built to a T.
Yep.
There's a fucking Brookstone.
Incredible.
All the stores are there. It's unbelievable.
If nothing else, the way that they rebuild these sets is phenomenal.
And it has to be the thing that makes the show cost money. That has to cost so much money.
I cannot even imagine. I mean, maybe they have little tricks, maybe they're for their restaurants, maybe they're just bringing in hot trays or whatever.
Right.
But it seems like they get everything. They get running water, they get, electricity, they get the whole kit and caboodle. They fully build this thing out
to be as real as humanly possible.
It's crazy. It's one of the best things about the show is just this level of, I mean, this is performance art basically. This is where we get into the whole thing is Andy Kaufman level performance art.
And the detail is nuts.
But the detail of this build out is, I think it surpasses the bar.
It does because it's bigger.
Although he does put the bar, it does because he puts the bar in.
I forgot
in the terminal.
Oh my God! So he builds out the airport. He has a cast of actors that he hires. He sends them to go study pilots and co-pilots and memorize their mannerisms and become them. Also concession workers and restaurant workers and airport security and airport janitors and cleanup people. everybody
Yeah.
is sent to go study, and then he fills those, people up in his fake airport. Then Nathan starts studying the interactions between like pilots and co-pilots in the airport or whatever as well. He then studies the interactions between his insecure co-pilot Moody and Moody's theoretical pilot that he's going to be working with, who is a guy who's an actor playing an actual pilot. And they don't interact at all. That's a big part of episode 1, is it turns out the pilots and the co-pilots do not really speak to each other. And, everybody's been in an airport and seen a pilot or a co-pilot or somebody in uniform. They just sort of sit there or they stand around. They doesn't seem to be very social. Not a lot of conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And so Nathan is like, hey, what the hell? Why are you not talking to the pilot? He's like, well, this is what we do. We don't really talk like the first time we speak is when we meet each other in the cockpit, right? Which, to tie it back to Nathan's premise about communication in the cockpit and the issues that's causing, like, if you have no rapport with someone going into a cockpit to fly a plane, it's less likely you will feel confident enough to say something and say my controls if the pilot has screwed up, right?
Yep.
So that's basically well, there's one more thing. Nathan has Moody's girlfriend come and dress up as a pilot and sticks them in his cockpit simulator.
Yeah.
And has Moody ask his girlfriend about getting hit on at Starbucks, and it plays out as like couples therapy. It's fucking insane. And it's so awkward because Nathan is right there the whole time, and there's a film crew filming this entire interaction, which is part of my confusion about this show still, is like, how does he get these people to agree to this?
Right.
Like how does this go down the way that it does? And it gets even weirder in episode 2. Which is called Star Potential, where he brings in a bunch of pilots and hosts a singing competition called Wings of a Voice.
Nope, just Wings of Voice.
Wings of Voice, where all the judges are pilots, right? Or co-pilots.
Yeah. Co-pilots. They're all co-pilots, I think.
And he's got first officers from all the major airlines serving as judges on the singing competition show, and he wants to see if they can reject applicants assertively and without fear, right? Like there's the one black lady who lets every single person through to the next round.
Yeah.
She can't tell them, like, you suck. She's like, wow, that was great. Like, congratulations, you're moving on, because she simply doesn't, she's non-confrontational. She doesn't want to deal with it. That's basically what we're talking about here. Non-confrontational people who, even if lives are at stake, are not willing to be confrontational at their jobs. Mary D. What I couldn't even tell if her first name is Mary D or if it's like her first and last name, but it's MARY''D.
That's her name?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
And she's the one that's incredible at rejecting people.
Right.
She says fantastic a lot.
Is it Mara D or Mara D?
Mary D. I don't know.
D?
I don't know.
Okay.
I thought it was Mary D. But
okay, all right.
She's the one that's great at rejecting people. She's really, really good at letting people down easy.
Yeah.
She inserts fantastic a lot. She's really friendly. She stays positive no matter what. She keeps the vibes high so that even the letdown, people are like, they're fine with it. So he's having all these contestants rate their judges, and this woman
if you
gets
don't get let through to the next round, then you're
to-
asked to rate your judge based on how
on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah.
1 being the worst, 10 being the
based
best.
on their likability and how you felt about them upon leaving the room.
Yeah. And she gets like a 9.3.
She's scoring real high.
Highest scores of all the people he's got there. We also meet Captain Jeff, who is banned from all the dating apps and openly admits this on camera for some reason.
Again, you could tell me this was a plan, and I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense.
But there's something so genuine about his douchiness.
I know.
That I wouldn't even believe you if you told me it was a plan. Like, that's a guy. That's a guy. Like, I think a lot of guys have met that guy at some point. You know what I mean? Like this dude who's just so lacking in self-awareness that he simply doesn't get it.
But finding him is like a needle in a haystack.
I know.
Like you have to find a co-pilot that is, or he's a captain.
He's a pilot, yeah, a captain.
That is willing to sit there, sign the rights to be on the show, and then sit there and tell you about how he
He's every woman's worst nightmare?
Yes. What does he say he puts in all of his dating app profiles?
No T-girls.
No T-girls. Yeah.
Which is why he thinks he keeps getting banned.
It might be.
But you know that's probably only a small piece of it. There's just simply no way he's appropriate.
Right. No, this guy is getting reported for inappropriate messages and behavior probably every time he logs on.
Like harassment.
Yeah.
That's this guy.
Yeah.
That's what he doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. He simply doesn't get it. So he sticks Jeff and Mary D into the flight simulator and monitors their interactions. And within like 2 minutes, Jeff starts asking Mary D about her romantic life. And you're like, this fucking guy. But she plays it off really well. I mean, she's able to like, massage the situation so that it doesn't get too awkward or into a place that's really hard to back out of. But even so, it's hell on earth watching them interact, watching Jeff say or do anything. He's also in a schmedium. He has way too tight of
loves to let those muscles bulge out of that shirt.
Gotta have the guns out.
Yeah.
Here, and this is a good time to ask this question. Since you've got 5 questions, I've got maybe a couple.
Okay.
Did this make you more scared of flying?
It did not, no.
It did for me. If these are all real pilots. Moody is a co-pilot on a flight I'm on. This man is in charge of my life. Jeff, the dude who's been banned from every dating app imaginable. What else did he get banned from? It wasn't just the dating apps. He got banned from all the dating apps and then like some other shit too. And then he was using his mom's ID to try to sign back up for like Bumble or Hinge on a different fucking account. And he was like, yeah, but I think they can like track your IP address because that didn't work either.
Yeah.
Like, anyway, even Colin. I don't want Colin flying my plane. The most these dudes have no like self-esteem.
Here's the thing. Nathan Fielder was able to get trained up to fly a 737.
Yeah.
With no issue.
Yeah, but I'd trust him.
So if I'm not saying that flying a plane is easy, but I am saying that it is like
not the hardest thing in the world.
Not the hardest thing in the world.
These days, it's very computerized.
It's a lot of computers and a lot of like.
But all these crashes are happening because of simple miscommunication errors.
Okay. I'm not. So the first thing I did after watching 10 minutes of episode 1 was like, are these real? Are these all real black box transcripts? Are these all real flights that happened and crashed because of these reasons? Yes, they are. That is pretty shocking and terrifying.
Yeah, and the NTSB guy, John Goglia, is like, yeah, this is a serious problem. He pointed it out when he was like on the NTSB board.
Yeah.
But nothing happened.
And then definitely like in episode 1 or 2 with the acknowledgement that a lot of these pilots are meeting, like the crews always feel like they work together. You know what I mean? You're on a Southwest flight and they're doing their jokes and their bits. And right? They all know each other. They work together regularly.
Right.
It's crazy that the pilots are often meeting for the first time when they like sit down in the cockpit, basically.
Yeah. There's not teams.
No. Yeah, like there's not like pairings. And I feel like it probably has to be that way because of all the hour restrictions and all the like
the scheduling as well,
and like it's a puzzle that they are piecing together to make 100,000 flights go every single day.
But it also seems like part of it is they do not want people who are social with each other flying these planes as pilot and co-pilot. They don't want conversation that isn't about the flight. When you're below 30,000 feet or whatever, I think was part of it that gets told to us. So like
but the this is obviously not a new thing in the stat, and so despite the recent like spotlight on air travel, the stats still remain the same, which is that it's like incredibly.
It's like getting struck by lightning. Yeah. To be in a plane crash. Well, it's ironic because I don't know if you remember in 2024 there was a point where the media became very obsessed with plane crashes again.
Right.
Like it felt like every other week there was another plane crash.
I mean, I feel like that's continued into 2025.
Maybe it has, yeah. But like Nathan couldn't possibly have foreseen that.
No, I know.
And he just happened to be filming this show.
This was very, very like.
It's so timely.
Yeah.
Unbelievably lucky. Yeah. Or unlucky if you're one of the people on those flights.
No, absolutely, it makes you think. And I'm like, look, don't get me wrong. I'm not flying to Newark right now. Like I'm taking the air traffic controller suggestion to not fly there. And that the whole ATC thing is something that absolutely needs to be. Oh
yeah, it's a whole other layer.
Buttoned up. But this was very interesting. I mean, this was illuminating at the very least.
It freaked me out a little bit. Yeah. Just like God, I want to. Because when you're a kid, you believe like doctors and pilots are like the baddest motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like they know their shit. They couldn't be more responsible. But then you become an adult, like you and I are 37, 38 years old. It's like you start to realize all adults are flawed, that not everybody knows what they're doing. In fact, very few people know what they're doing.
Yep.
Most of us are just bullshitting our way through life, doing the best we can.
Sure.
And then you think about a pilot and you're like, oh, fuck. There's just some guy named Jeff who's getting banned from dating apps flying my plane. Anyway, it was a piece of it that came up for me. Last piece of episode 2.
The big digression. Yeah.
A very random aside. He brings up how an episode of Nathan For You was pulled from Paramount Plus's streaming service because of, quote, sensitivities.
Yeah.
Because it involved the Holocaust
in
some form or fashion.
Nazism.
Yeah.
They were.
So he gets into why that happened. It turns out Paramount Plus Germany pulled it first after the Hamas attacks in Israel, when I guess everything became even more sensitive, and it spread from there. So of course he shows it spread from Paramount Plus Germany on this map in the same way that Hitler's Nazi party spread across Europe, like he shows it jumping from country to country. He sets the whole thing up to where Paramount Plus is essentially the Nazis, the Nazi party. He builds out this Paramount Plus Germany office that looks exactly like a set from a World War II film where you are dealing with the Nazi leadership. He has massive Paramount Plus banners hanging in this fucking office, just like they had the massive Nazi flags with the swastikas on them. And they fucking hires this dude to act like the Paramount Plus Germany representative with a German accent and tries to rehearse his conversation with them. And the whole thing just gets incredibly bizarre. And it's really the first moment of the season where you're like, wait, what the fuck is happening here?
Yes.
What does this have to do with like air safety?
Yeah.
Aviation safety. But it is good fun and leads to some laughs. And
I liked the guy, whether it was scripted or not, calling him out on like, what are your real intentions here?
Yeah.
Like, why would I take this seriously? You're clearly not taking this seriously. Like,
one of the best moments of the first 2 episodes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That dude saying to him that like, you're basically he's hiding his intentions, like his real intentions.
Yep.
Yeah. Later this week, Barrett and I will drop another episode of our podcast exclusively on patreon.com/oystersclamscockles, where we take hotline calls from listeners and further discuss what we've been watching lately. Every week, we drop an ad-free episode on Patreon just for our supporters who are subscribed there. Patreon is a place for creators like us to get more direct support from our listeners and viewers, and because this week we do not have a sponsor, we're asking you to support our show by subscribing on Patreon. It's just $5 a month to join the Clam Fam tier and gain access to all our Patreon-exclusive ad-free audio podcasts, our entire backlog of ad-free Patreon content from the last 5 years, so much more OCC, all ad-free. For $10 a month, you can join the Mollusk Militia tier and enjoy all of our ad-free premium episodes in video as well as audio. You also get the Mollusk Militia exclusive hotline numbers so you can call in and be featured on the show, and access to our Discord server. Patreon.com/oystersclamscockles is also home to all 86 of our companion podcasts for The Sopranos, HBO's classic crime drama. Our Sopranos podcasts are friendly to both first-timers and rewatchers. So if you want to fire up a rewatch of The Sopranos or watch it for the first time, do it with our companion podcast on patreon.com/oystersclamscockles. You can also check out our movie club collection on Patreon. We've got Patreon exclusive episodes for a bunch of different TV shows we've covered over the years, like The Last of Us, House of the Dragon, Severance, The White Lotus, Succession, Shogun, Silo, Foundation, The Penguin, and more. Subscribe on patreon.com/oystersclamscockles today, and you'll get 2 episodes of our show every week instead of 1. Sometimes you'll get 3 episodes every week when we're covering multiple shows at once, which does happen on occasion. So you'll also be a huge part of why our show continues to exist into the future. Big thanks to everyone who is already on Patreon and powering us toward year 10 of this podcast's existence. Patreon.com/oystersclamscockles. So episode 3 is called Pilot's Code. It's 34 minutes long. It's probably my favorite of the season, if not second favorite to the finale.
It's the most unhinged.
It's completely insane. So it starts off dealing with these cloned dogs that I didn't even know this was a thing, but their pets are dying, and then they're having their pets cloned because they miss them so much, essentially.
Yeah.
And the clones don't end up having the same personality as the OG dead dog. and he finds these people that have like 4 or 5 clone dogs.
They've cloned their original dog, Achilles, or Achilles, as Nathan says, 3 times. I think they've got 3.
3 of them. Okay, and he wants to see if he can train the clones to behave like the OG.
Yeah, by putting them back in a rehearsal situation of the original Achilles' upbringing.
Right.
Yeah.
Because without the same, nurture and nature and nurture.
Nurture. You're right. Yep. Yeah.
They don't end up the same dog.
Right.
So he tries to do the rehearsal thing where he recreates the exact same environment that the original Achilles grew up with to see if these other dogs. And at one point, he has like a dumbass moment where the cat goes across the top of the couch, and the original Achilles used to do that just like the cat, and one of the clones does it, and he's like, see?
Yeah.
You can train clones to be like the original based on their nurture. This does end up tying into the bigger and more hilarious part of the episode, where Nathan hypothesizes that Captain Sully Sullenberger, the famous pilot who landed the plane in the Hudson River many years ago, that Sully actually was a good pilot in terms of communication with his co-pilot, that he asked his co-pilot for ideas during their now very famous flight that ended in the Hudson. Mm-hmm. So Nathan wonders aloud if someone lived the same life as Sully Sullenberger, would that also make them a great communicator and life-saving pilot like Sully? So then Nathan becomes Captain Sully Sullenberger, and he lives all of the biggest moments from Sully's autobiography, including, but not limited to, Sully breastfeeding, which was... I was crying laughing, and my wife was just staring at me like, what the fuck is wrong with you? This is the case with you and I and both of our wives, that they're not really willing to buy into the silliest things we watch. The 2 best examples are probably I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson and The Rehearsal with Nathan Fielder.
Yeah.
And I made the mistake of not having Lexi watch the episode 1 of this season with me, because if you watch episode 1, this is another reason season 2 is more genius than season 1. If you watch episode 1, like Barrett explained earlier, you can get somebody who normally wouldn't be down for this type of comedy and strangeness to buy into the original premise and see it as like, oh, this is a real problem. He's trying to solve it. It may get silly, but at least there's a real reason for the show to exist. Mm-hmm. Lex did not watch that with me. Therefore, when she's suddenly in the midst of an episode where Nathan is swaddled like a baby and being breastfed, and breast milk is just shooting out of this
by 2 paper mache giants with operated by people on stilts. Yeah,
she had a tough time adapting to that strangeness. Meanwhile, I'm fucking doubled over dying laughing. And God, that went on a long time. It's like shooting all over his face and all out of his mouth and all over. They've built.
I mean, it was a classic like SNL slapstick where they just where the bit is that they like something is spraying wildly over on somebody, blood, milk, whatever it might be. Like, and I love that shit,
dude. It worked on me. It worked on me, man. And not just that moment. It's the build up to it, where like
he's shaving, he's getting the makeup on to be the baby. You're like, oh no, where does this go?
He walks into the room that they have made, to scale, so that he's the size of a baby. And these 2 wires come down and pick him up and put him in the crib. And then his mom, this giant paper mache woman, like on stilts, comes in and like reads him stories and breastfeeds him. It's fucking completely unhinged. He goes and relives a moment where Sully fed his baby sister tiny stones, rocks.
Yeah.
And his stilt parents come over and,
And his baby sister face.
What is that? Why did it have to be like a horror movie?
Is the worst thing about the episode.
Why did it have to be like that? Why did he do that to us? Make us watch this. What the hell? His giant parents on stilts are also, it's almost like a horror movie. You're just like, what
it does
is
get
this?
into like body horror type stuff.
It's so weird. Easily the weirdest moments of the season, I think.
Yes.
And
not close.
And somehow brilliant to me. Like, I loved this. It was insane. He's reliving Sully's life and eventually gets to the Evanescence premise, which is that Sully I guess, and they show Nathan like reading Sully's autobiography throughout the course of the episode. And I guess at some part he comes across Sully mentioning this Evanescence song, Wake Me Up Inside.
Yeah.
And that it's the only reference to music Sully ever makes, and that it's right after the iPod was released
Right.
in like 2011 or something. I can't remember the year.
Earlier than that, but
Earlier than that. So then he does a rehearsal where he is Sully and he goes and buys the iPod and then loads it up with Evanescence tracks. Long story short, he believes that Sully Sullenberger, Captain Sully Sullenberger, in the, 23 seconds of silence that occur in the cockpit before he lands the plane in the Hudson, actually went and listened to the...
popped in his not his AirPod, but his earbud, popped in his earbuds and listened to the chorus of
Wake Me Up Inside.
Evanescence. Is that what the song's called?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
23 seconds.
23 seconds.
Because it matches up perfectly
with the
with the time that no one spoke in the cockpit.
I mean, that's pretty sound logic to me. You know?
And he was ignoring his co-pilot and the air traffic control people because he was listening to Evanescence.
Yeah.
Unbelievable build-up toward the end of that episode 3, and just so fucking funny. Also, that song goes.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that song goes. Evanescence has probably 3 songs that are inarguably awesome, and this is the biggest one.
Don't forget in this episode when he also needs to relive the experience of being horned up by a date.
Oh my God, I forgot about this.
In an airplane, so he has to deal with the romantic, lusty interests while also flying the plane. So he decides to crank one out in the cockpit of his simulator.
So he's in the simulator, and there's like obviously more explanation to that. It's like Sully flew with his girlfriend once and wrote about how intense it was having their legs touching and his arm brushing against hers.
Yeah.
So Nathan thinks, well, would it be more dangerous to fly aroused? And then, he makes everybody leave the set and he cranks one out in the fucking... in the simulator. It's completely insane. Oh my God. Yeah. So episode 3 is gold. And then it kind of like, for episode 4 and 5, it gets a little bit less exciting, I would say. Just a little bit.
I loved episode 4.
Okay.
So episode 4,
Kiss Me,
mostly centers around the pack method. An
he's
exercise
using with
called
Colin.
The pack. We get introduced to Colin, who is a first officer, who's an awkward guy, Ross.
Yeah.
He's a bit of an awkward guy.
He doesn't have much of a social personality.
No. And I don't even remember how we get here, but like, he's having like his crew pull some of these first officers aside to give them an opportunity to talk, basically, to get a little therapy out of this.
Because pilots and co-pilots are not allowed to seek out therapy or talk about their problems.
Which was a big piece of episode 3 as well that he gets into.
Because the FAA will pull their license if they think there's any issue.
So this Colin guy, they identify him as having trouble with dating, trouble with meeting and talking to women. And so this whole episode mostly is is a big digression into helping Colin figure out his dating life.
Yes. The whole episode.
We're introduced to the pack method, in which a crowd of actors surround Colin and mimic his every action as he goes through simulations of romantic encounters.
Everything he does, everything he says, there's 20 people right behind him all doing the exact same thing. To the point that it's annoying because he'll say something like, "How are you doing today?" And they're all behind him. "How are you doing today? How are you doing today? How are you doing? How are you doing it?" Yeah, it's a bunch of lemmings.
They're miming all of his motions.
If he drinks from his coffee, if he reaches down to pick up the paper, anything.
And the idea that this is like imbues you with confidence, basically, because you have all these people right behind you, like doing you,
which is obviously absurd. This would not help, but it is very funny.
So he's got this, like, he's trying to prepare for this one date, but then that leads Nathan to asking his crew of actors, who are all members of the pack, I think, pretty much.
Yeah.
If any of them maybe has an interest in Colin, and a few of them do.
One of them in particular who thinks he's a lot like Albert Einstein, whom she used to have wet dreams over. But it turns out, Barrett, they weren't wet dreams at all. They were just her being wet.
Yeah.
Because she wasn't sleeping. Therefore, cannot be a wet dream. That woman was incredible. And this is another example of like finding a needle in a haystack.
Right.
You have to get lucky. Like, there's no way he could have known that goofball would be one of the actors.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how, like, just an unbelievable turn of events there.
But so Nathan kind of identifies this one that shows interest, Emma, as being like the one that probably makes the most sense for Colin and maybe seems the most genuinely interested.
They have a little bit of a spark.
They have a little bit of a spark, and so like there's some efforts to kind of like make their relationship happen. Nathan encourages her to kind of approach Colin, maybe like seek out a date. And it's all going very, very, very slow because, as mentioned, Colin is a super awkward dude that
he has no idea how to capitalize on this momentum.
They cannot really, capitalize on the momentum. That's a great way of putting it. So this is where the episode got really fun for me. Is when Nathan takes his co-pilot and pilot approach of he takes that premise that if you tell people that they are acting in a role, even though they understand that they are just acting in this role, that it gives them like
an excuse
to do things that they might otherwise be too scared to do.
Right.
So this eventually gets the setup to be that he gets Colin and Emma to do these roles where Colin is he goes after what he wants and he's not scared to ask questions.
He's Captain Powers.
He's Captain Powers, and his power, remind me what his power is
that he takes what he wants or something like that.
It's like that it's that he kisses at the end of the date.
Right. Yeah.
And has no problem with it.
And basically. Then Emma plays Jennifer Kiss Me.
That's right. Who basically wants to be kissed at the end of every date.
Yeah.
This leads to Colin.
He even has that lady explain the strategy she uses. It's not Emma. It's like another woman.
Yes.
Who's like, she looks up and down from the eyes
That's
to
right,
the lips
the look.
over and over.
She does the look.
And then Nathan does that to Colin. It's incredible. No, you're not wrong. Okay, this part of the episode was awesome.
This led to Colin going for a kiss on the cheek. It was so painful.
Still couldn't do it. He still couldn't do the lips.
Still couldn't really do it. The part that I really liked is that Nathan, when he sets up the 5 apartments and he gets all of these actors to also be Emma's and Colin's to see how this might all pan out. This was just a really, really funny and brilliant aside where he is making fun of actors. This is the first time that he'll do it. He does it another time later. But like this was so funny to basically have him explain that actors get to do things that nobody else is allowed to do.
And they have this blanket
because
excuse.
They have this blanket excuse.
And that it's kind of bullshit.
Yes. I loved this. Watching these people basically just like go for it in these little apartments, like they're filming like a softcore porn.
Right.
Was amazing. Like they are just like, they really like, it really is just an excuse to like to fulfill, this role play basically.
What made it so great is like when you're doing a movie, if you're doing a movie, like it's a big, even a TV show, like this was not that. This is not a movie. This is not some big budget TV show. This is a fucking random aside that this nut has put together that is not going to be a story. So he basically told these 2 actors, you're going to be in your living room, on your couch, and if you feel like getting intimate, act on it.
Yeah, live out this life. You are these characters.
Become them. And don't be afraid to get spicy with it.
Yeah.
So he's got actors and actresses who have significant others even, who he then brings in to watch. And some of them are going like way further with it than they need to, really, or than they've been. Probably at one point he's got a shot of like this chick is getting her shirt taken off. And
they ask how far they can go. Or the intimacy coordinator comes to Nathan. Is like they want to know how far you want them to like take it.
I was so scared.
And then there's that one actor who's talking about her boyfriend that eventually does come in, and she's like, yeah, he understands that this is part of the job. But then she also goes on to explain that when she is in the character, when she is in the moment, it is a real moment.
Right.
For her.
Right.
And that is like, I like this because if you're a longtime listener, you may have heard me talk many years ago about like doing Meisner acting classes. And like, that's the whole premise, is that you are living truthfully under imaginary circumstances. That's like the tagline of Meisner.
Right.
So you want that it's the goal is to be as genuine as possible in the imaginary circumstances.
You want it to become real for you so it translates on screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it's like it was just so it's like, yeah, you wonder why like Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie fall in love on the set of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, because this shit is real. They are acting, but it is, you have to do the acting. You have to go through the motions. You have to fall in love with this person on screen so that it appears real.
You create legitimate chemistry between these two characters. Who are you and this other person?
Yes, yeah. So I thought that the doing this little investigation of all that and having the actors talk about it in such a, just like in such a real way, bringing in their significant others to watch them do this on these like dumb little sets, these apartment sets. I mean, it was just like a really like. It was really funny to me.
He basically accused anyone and everyone who's a significant other of an actor or actress of being a cuck.
Yes.
That was basically what happened.
Yeah, they're sitting in the cuck chair.
Yeah.
Watching.
On camera.
Watching this happen
while
all go
he
down
awkwardly
on camera.
comes up right next to them and is like, so how does that make you feel? What do you feel right now as you're watching your girlfriend kissing and straddling another man?
Yeah.
And the guy's like, well, it's like I'm able to separate it. That was another great part of it, is like the girl's explanation was, it becomes real to me. I am that person in that moment.
Yeah.
And the boyfriend is like, well, it's different people. It's like, there's my girlfriend when she's out walking around in the real world, and then there's when she's acting, that's like a different person. So it's not hard for me to separate. And I was like, oh my God, this is gold. Yeah. The apartment replicas were incredible. The intimacy coordinator was also somehow hilarious.
Yes.
Of course, also at the beginning of the episode, Wings of Voice continues in the replica of George Bush Intercontinental Airport. Nathan openly admits that he no longer needs this talent show to occur, but he has to see it through because it has begun. Mm-hmm. So that Wings of Voice keeps going in the background the whole season.
I mean, you got to keep the bit alive. Right?
Doesn't stop. He legitimately holds this singing competition with real judges that keeps rolling. And there's like 50 people left at this point, I think, and they're all singing like in groups. Like it's just so absurd. But yeah, I think that was most of.
I like that little cutaway to the everybody doing Amazing Grace in a different style of music.
Oh my God, so bad, so bad. Episode 5 is Washington, and this is the one where he uses the back door of. Like, he gets into how all these autistic people identified with season 1 of the Rehearsal, which very much was a thing. And if you're on Twitter, otherwise known as X, you've seen this discourse unfold in some shape or form. But he uses this backdoor of autism awareness to become legit enough to be allowed before Congress. That's his plan, right? So through connections at Warner Brothers Discovery, he learns that the company has a lobbying division which can put him in touch with the Congressional Aviation Subcommittee and its Louisiana chairman, Garrett Graves. But of course, he has to rehearse the part of a credible spokesperson for aviation safety first. So he builds out a set and hires actors to study all these politicians on the aviation subcommittee and has an audience, and then gets into the premise that, like, if you're an entertainer and you're going before Congress, you have to open with a joke. Shows like the Seth Rogen one, shows the Stephen Colbert one. There's one other one I can't remember, but his joke, of course, is wildly inappropriate and does not in any way, shape, or form work, which doesn't matter because he never gets before Congress in the first place. But that whole thing playing out with former NTSB chief John Gaglia there, and you can tell this is the point where Mr. Gaglia is like, what the hell have I gotten myself into? He point blank tells him, if you talk like this in front of Congress, you will be thrown out immediately.
Yep.
That was a big, long aside here in episode 5. And then at some point, he ends up like going to an autism, like, I don't know what you would call it.
He decides to use the autism to like basically cloak himself in that credibility, because that is something that's been written about him and like is this thing out there. So if he can use that as a way in, he might be able to get a meeting with this other guy, Steve Cohen, who is on
Tennessee congressman.
Yeah, who's an autism advocate and the ranking member of the aviation subcommittee. And so he goes and he meets with Doreen Granpichet.
That's the woman.
That's the woman. And she's
actually seen season 1 of the show.
Yeah, very much so. She's an Iranian-American psychologist and board-certified behavior analyst. And she founded the Center for Autism and Related Disorders which is I think it's in California, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, it's in LA. It turns out that she's a pretty controversial figure in autism, which I learned through Reddit, for a variety of reasons. But some of which they sort of get into, which is essentially what she is doing with her center is kind of it is a tactic to help autistic people interact in the real world by essentially by masking.
Teaching them to mask.
Teaching them to mask. Yes.
Rather than teaching them to be proud of who they are and be their authentic selves.
Correct.
Masking is, as she sees it, their way to be a part of society.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that is controversial.
That's controversial.
Yep.
Yeah, understandably so. I could see how that would create controversy.
Yeah, and I mean, just to play devil's advocate, I've got no real connection or expertise on the situation. So, you could also see how that is interesting too. Like for people that want to,
Well, part of what Nathan and what this season on the whole does is also point out that everyone is masking.
Right.
No one. I mean, it is rare that people present themselves as their authentic selves in social and professional situations.
Yep.
And that's a problem, right? On some level. So yeah, that whole thing gets fucking weird where eventually she's like, hey, we could use your fake George Bush Intercontinental Airport to help these autistic kids get more comfortable with the airport, which is generally very overstimulating for people with autism.
Yeah.
So that plays out. Then he ends up meeting with Steve Cohen. Like, this works. He gets a meeting with Steve Cohen.
Again, there's no way to know whether this was intentional or not. He sort of fails the autism test that Doreen shows him.
She very much tries to tell him, like, you're autistic.
Yeah.
That becomes a big part of it.
The back and forth where she keeps essentially lumping him in and talking about him as if he is part of the autistic community, and then the way that he keeps spitting it back out at her by removing himself from it,
right,
and talking about the community with him as an outsider,
it was gold.
Was really gold, and I like. Obviously, in that situation, he very much knows what he is doing there.
Oh yeah.
But it plays that's very funny.
Because again, to your point, you can't really tell.
No.
Like, does he believe or know he is autistic, or again, does he believe and know he is not autistic and is just playing with this entire concept?
That's right. It's probably, I think it's the biggest piece of the whole performance art of this entire rehearsal project. It is that idea of how self-aware of Nathan is Nathan, basically.
And I think he has to be incredibly self-aware to be able to pull all this off.
Yeah.
That's my personal take on it.
I don't know. The autism thing was there are moments that are obviously very, very funny. The one that I just described, I thought was gold. But it gets into territory that feels touchy, sensitive. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Well, he even says,
is he being benevolent by letting Card use the airport, or is it kind of usury?
Right.
With that group of with the group of people, is it?
Dude, he even tells the lady,
is he playing it as a bit? So
I promised I wouldn't use kids again for my rehearsals after season 1 because it became a problem.
Right.
And she basically talks him into using kids again.
Yeah.
And so, no, I mean, it's a great point. And I think it even goes beyond this particular instance. There were stories that circulated after the finale that there was a woman who did Wings of Voice who was deeply upset that she spent $30,000 traveling to to participate in the show that ended up being fake. But then the show actually isn't fake. It's just part of another show that has nothing to do with singing.
Yeah.
There is a winner. There is a final performance. And it is of Evanescence's Wake Me Up Inside.
Sure is.
So, yeah, and the whole thing there's a lot of questions around usury. It's the same thing that happens with Sacha Baron Cohen when he would do all his characters back in the day.
Yep.
Is it usury to deceive people that what you're presenting them with is real when the entire thing is fabricated for the sake of entertainment?
Yeah.
Right? It's what makes this show unbelievably confusing to try to explain to someone. They're like, you like the rehearsal? Well, what's it about? It's I don't know, but it's great, and you should watch it. It's a tough sell.
he does get this meeting with Congressman Cohen, where he pitches out his whole thing. He goes through the whole thing. He kind of explains how the autism thing was just an in, and that what he's really here to talk about is like he connects the dots, but it's tenuous at best,
and intentionally so.
And yes, and then he goes into his whole premise that he wants the NTSB and the Aviation Committee to institute this practice where the pilot and the co-pilots are Captain All Ears and First Officer Blunt, I believe.
Yeah.
He wants them to do these like pre-flight routines
to help communication in the cockpit.
To help communication in the cockpit. Whereupon Steve Cohen essentially throws him out of his office.
Yeah.
My main takeaway from this is that our public servants are just uniformly pieces of shit.
Yeah.
This dude, who's been a congressman for 30 years?
He did not come off well.
20 years? You just can tell he has no intention of ever leaving this office.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
No, his energy was dog shit.
This was such a good example of why we should have term limits. He is so set up in this office. He's got all his little tchotchkes everywhere. It's lived in. He's got his furniture. He's got all his little creature comforts. Like,
he's a 76-year-old man.
This man has no intention of leaving this office ever. Like, This is what he intends to do for the rest of his life. He does not give a fuck about anything that's happening on any of these committees or lawmaking or whatever. His only goal, and I can say this pretty much about every single person in our Congress and Senate, is to keep the job.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That is it. It's a cushy-ass job. Why would you not want it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's rough.
If you can deal with people hating you all the time, everything else seems kind of golden.
And that's really the only...
You get to inside trade all day long.
That's the bar you have to hurdle.
You get to make yourself all sorts of money and connections and favors, and
that's it. You have to not care what people think about you.
Yeah.
That's the prerequisite.
And you just get reelected. And I don't know, his vibe, his attitude, everything
was tough.
Because I would have respected it if he had said, Nathan, I can't tell if you're full of shit or not. And I don't know what to do with this because
he doesn't.
Because I don't know if this is even real.
Yeah,
but he doesn't. He just like cowers into his little turtle shell.
He basically is like, you're wasting my time.
Yeah.
This is silly.
Yeah.
Like he's patronizing.
Yes.
Like, all right, yeah, I gave you a few minutes, get the fuck out.
Right.
And I'll never think about this again.
Yeah.
Except that now it's on a TV show. And he's probably really pissed off.
How did they get this guy to sign the fucking paperwork?
That's another piece of it. Well, he probably doesn't have to sign paperwork.
Maybe
You're
not,
a public servant. You let people in your office with cameras. That shit's on you.
Okay.
But the fucking lead of the ranking member of the aviation subcommittee is this dumbass who's stupid enough to let Nathan Fielder into his office.
How
with
about
cameras?
the fact that he's the autism advocate and doesn't know what masking is?
Yeah, that was a problem too. He generally didn't seem to understand anything Nathan was talking about.
No.
So that's how episode 5 ends. And then episode 6 is this incredible grand finale where we find out that it turns out Nathan spent 2 years of his life. And fucking season 1 came out in like 2022 or 23. Yes. So he spent every waking moment since then making this season and flying airplanes. So he learned how to fly a 737. He hires 150 actors to fill out a rented 737 airliner so that he can fly from San Bernardino Airport to the Nevada border and back again. Now, we jump back from there to seeing him going around trying to rent a 737, which includes him meeting with people who are wearing like overalls and telling him that like wires hanging in the cockpit are totally normal and that it's all fine and that they would fly their parents on that flight or whatever, put their families on that plane. The planes are shit. He explains to John Goglia on a tarmac that he doesn't think he'll make headway in Washington, so the only way he can really demonstrate the communication issues that take place in the cockpit is to pilot a plane himself and bring cameras on board.
The guy at the junkyard talking him into that plane was incredible.
It was beautiful. The plane is clearly a danger to anyone who gets on it.
Him leaning up and be like, I'd fly my family on this plane. I'd let my family fly on this plane. And and among plane mechanics, that's the biggest thing you can say.
He goes,
that's a real...
Is that a bird's nest? And the guy, he's like, tries to play it off. He's like, yeah, maybe. Hey, look, there's a bird's nest over here, too. Bro.
Nathan picks up the little thing on the cockpit. He's like, where does this go? And he's like, oh, you don't need that. You don't need it. He tries to put it
somewhere, and then he's like, oh, we'll just throw that out. Oh, it's incredible. See, that's real, right? That can't be fake. You can't fake that level of fucking crazy. I don't think you can.
I think that was real.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
we get
to see him do his pilot's training. He has a lot of trouble with it. He has to do way more hours. So, quote, I was 7 months in and had over 120 hours in the sky and could still not do it to their satisfaction, it being landing the plane.
Which, again, too good of a metaphor, right? Can you land the plane of the television show, of the premise, right? This was, I had another question about the performance art aspect of it. Do you think that Nathan was bad on purpose for that long so that he had the material to put this together?
That's a great question. No way to know. There's no way he would ever talk about that.
Because then one day,
right,
he does the visualization thing. He takes a month off, and then it clicks for him.
Yeah. No, I hear you. It's a little too good to be true.
I feel like he sandbagged it.
Yeah. Which is a fucking hilarious thing to do.
Yes.
Sandbagging pilot training so that they always have to take the controls during landing because you're about to kill both of you. What? He eventually gets to fly by himself. We see the whole thing, the whole becoming a pilot thing. Also, just the balls on this guy. Like, to have discovered everything he's discovered about communication in the cockpit and all these people going up in flames on planes that crash. And he's like, you know what I'll do? I'll learn how to fly one.
100%. Incredible. If you've been paying attention to the plane stuff over the last 10 months, like, one of the things that they talk about frequently because everybody is scared of commercial travel is that what's way more dangerous in most of these accidents are in these little private personal planes.
Right.
Like, that's the dangerous thing to be doing, and that is what he's doing.
Yes.
He's up there in these little Cessnas and prop jets and
for 7 months and 120 hours of flying.
And then flying solo. Crazy stuff. I mean, seriously, if anything tells me that there is something a little bit off about Nathan, like really and truly, it's that It's that he was just like, oh, sure.
Yeah.
No fear about this whatsoever. Like,
yeah, that's huge stakes.
Yeah.
You're playing with your life at that point.
Correct.
For basically a funny premise on season 2 of your show.
Yes.
It's just one season. This won't ever be talked about again. He'll move season 3 to a totally different fucking direction. It's crazy, man. He ends up doing this flight full of also the actors, getting all these actors to be on board. He brings back one of the pilots we met in episode 1 and has him be his co-pilot during this 737 flight that he does. It starts getting like heavy towards the end. There's this quote where he's like, "They only let the smartest and best people fly a plane of this size, and it feels good to know that. No one is allowed in the cockpit if there's something wrong with them. So if you're here, you must be fine." And that monotone way he narrates this entire fucking thing is just, oh my God, bro.
Yeah.
So my big concern after episode 3 was like, how will he, land this plane? How will he end this fucking season of chaos? And I thought this was fantastic. It's what season 1 lacked.
Yeah.
Was like a cohesive ending that gives you something to be like,
correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
And oh my God, was it worth the wait? I still was like, terrified for all these 150 people that signed up to do a fake flight with Nathan Fielder as the goddamn pilot.
And this was the other really funny punch at actors, right? Is that they are so desperate that they'll
sign up for this.
They'll sign up for this.
And
not single one says no to this project.
And him going and telling them, like, all right, your line that we're going to rehearse here is Sprite, please. Or that one guy's line is just, no thanks, I'm good.
No thanks, I'm good.
And that's the only thing he needs to remember. Because while Nathan is up there flying the plane, it is everyone in the back in the fucking, it's not the cockpit. What's the rest of the plane called? All the passengers are acting as if this is real. There is a real drink service. There are real flight attendants. Mm-hmm. It's completely unnecessary in what makes it so funny.
Yeah,
his
just the sheer commitment to the bit. The whole learning to fly thing, but then we talk about what's real and what's not. There's no faking learning the 737. There's no faking going and studying and living in Vegas for months to pass all the tests and do all the studying and read all the books. Like, you can't fake your way around that. Like, he did that, which is incredible.
And they've got another plane flying, taking footage of him flying.
That was wild.
Which kind of freaks out the co-pilot.
Yeah, it would have freaked me.
Like,
I did not know you were allowed to do that.
Yeah.
You can get a plane that close to another plane, to a commercial jet.
I think only if you've got
drone
these
shots that are going across the top.
It's crazy.
Oh my!
Crazy.
Are you kidding me?
Unbelievable.
Yeah. To start wrapping this up here, let me hit you with some of my other questions.
Okay.
And easy. Here's a quick one. Would you fly in a 737 with Nathan as your pilot?
I think yes. Given what we just saw, I think yes.
Yeah. Here's another quick one. Do you think that one pilot, Chris, is that his name?
The dude he does the end flight with? The last flight?
Colin, excuse me.
Oh, Colin.
Do you think Colin ever kissed Emma on the lips?
No.
Okay.
And maybe no one.
All right.
Maybe kisses no one on the lips for the rest of his life.
Okay, I think I know what your favorite total digression was. It was the Sully.
Yeah, that was incredible.
Life. And then here's the kind of big one, the other big one that I jotted down. What are Nathan's true intentions?
That's the toughest thing to tell.
Do you think he thinks that there is actually a problem with pilot and co-pilot communication?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe the premise of the season is real, and that I think part of what I got out of the season is that he genuinely is trying to find ways to make his specific brand of comedy and this concept of rehearsal breed a real world impact. And I think that's kind of what this season took a step forward from season one.
Definitely. Yeah.
And I buy it. Now, he may be selling my ass hard. This is the beauty of it, is if you're going to do what he's doing, or if you're going to do the Andy Kaufman style shit, you can never give up the bit.
Right.
You could never admit on like a Tonight Show or an interview like, yeah, this whole thing's just bullshit. It's all for entertainment.
Yeah.
You can never give up the game.
I mean, he's been showing up on talk shows in like full pilot's gear, so he's not giving up.
No, he's doing the opposite of giving up the game. Yeah, he's taking it very fucking seriously. But I think the premise is real. And I tell myself it's part of the reason HBO gives him all this money to burn, which he references repeatedly throughout the season.
Yeah.
That he's just setting piles of HBO's money on fire, basically. But, dude, there's just nothing else on TV like this, which is one of the things that I think makes it really fun. It's very original. It has very funny moments, very, very, very painfully awkward, like Meet the Parents style awkward comedy moments as well. So fucking weird. Super dry humor most of the time, right? Uncomfortable awkwardness. Confusing moments that you're not sure are meant to be funny at all, where you can't even tell if the usury you referenced earlier is a problem or if it's like all good in good fun in the name of progress. But if the premise of the show is fake, then there's no progress anyway, and none of this fucking matters. It's so wild that this is a thing.
And working out in your head the whole like, well, he knows that we know that he knows that we like that. Doing that whole thing is like will drive you mad, and it but is part of the fun. And it's one of the other things that I've really seen. Like I'm now getting served Rehearsal Reddit, as I mentioned, and like there are kind of two main camps of Nathan fans and what they think of the show.
Okay.
The first thinks that he is like that everything has like a true kind of good ulterior motive. So like when it comes to Doreen Granpiesche or whatever her name is, like I saw this like 500-word post that was like he's actually bringing her to the forefront to shine a light on like the whole like how she's doing the wrong thing, and that really
to try to expose her.
Yes, and that bringing in the masking thing about how we're all masking, and and maybe it's not fair that any of us have to like can never really be our true selves, and this whole thing, and they're doing all of these kind of like deep dives that require a lot of mental gymnastics to kind of frame this guy up as like a total master manipulator, evil genius, which I think he is, but but whether he's going that far with all of it. Hard to tell. The other camp is basically that he's a total nihilist and that his only objective whatsoever is to like push the envelope as far as he can.
I think it's probably a combination of those two things.
Right. But it's not a surprise that those are the two kind of vocal camps.
Those are the teams people are on.
When it comes to the online discourse. But it is really interesting. I think that yes, I think the truth is probably somewhere in between those two. Because at the end of the day, it's like kind of like what you said, like this probably will have some type of impact on one of the things that he covered.
Right.
Even if it's as simple as Paramount Plus putting his episode back on.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like bringing this type of stuff, like shining attention on some of these issues and getting eyes on it because of its absurdity could still have the same impact as actually like trying to do real serious work on it.
Normal work.
Yeah, normal work. So it's fascinating. It's one of the most fun things I've watched this year. It's certainly one of the things that I've thought the most about.
Yeah, it's great. And I mean, I hope he keeps it going.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how long you can do this. One of the things that really blew my mind is it seems like he probably had to start working on this almost immediately after season one.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't know how many great ideas like this you could come up with. That's going to be the big challenge for Nathan with the rehearsal. It's like, what? How do you top that?
Yeah.
And it's going to be tough, man. I hope he can do it though, because I'll be strapped in to watch it. But weird, wild ride. And you know, you and I, especially this year in 2025, this past Sunday was our first Sunday off.
Yeah.
This calendar year. And we've mostly dabbled in and discussed really dark, dramatic shows. And so to get into something like this where it doesn't even have a fucking label you can slap on it, it's like it's not really a comedy show. It's not really if you were going to put a label on it, I'd call it performance art.
Yeah.
But I don't know how that translates to folks. So props to Nathan Fielder and HBO for doing this and pulling this off. It was really, really fun. And I'm curious to know how many people watch this thing, you know?
Yeah.
It's got crazy word of mouth.
It does have crazy word of mouth.
But there's not really a way to market it outside of what he's doing now, which is going on all these talk shows dressed as a fucking pilot and calling like the NSA morons.
Yeah.
But I don't know how well that translates for people in terms of being like, you know what, I want to go watch his show. And who's making it past episode 3 in the breastfeeding scene? You know, there's people that are turning it off right there and not coming back.
What should people call in about this week? Obviously, the rehearsal, friends and neighbors.
Your rehearsal, friends and neighbors. Anything else y'all are watching
Lilo
that you
and
want to
Stitch.
discuss on Patreon? Lilo and Stitch, of course. 2025 Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, really anything you want to talk about. But
I watched Mountainhead. I'm down to give takes on that on Patreon as well. And yeah. And we'll see y'all later this week on patreon.com/oystersclamscockles. Hope you enjoyed our rehearsal conversation. Holler at us on social media at Barrett Dudley, at WR Bolin. Follow our show on all the platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Facebook. We're everywhere. Get in there. Tell your friends and family about what we're doing here at OCC. We appreciate you. Until next time, wake me up inside. Wake me up inside. Call my name and save me from the dark.